All right. Good evening, Pearson Band families. My name is Michelle Black, and I am so honored to be saying hello to you tonight and to be presenting this meeting with you. It is 5:30, so we are going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of information to cover, and I want to make sure that I don't go over our allotted 1 hour. As we begin this meeting, there's a couple things that I want you to know. First, the meeting is being recorded for those who are unable to attend live. So I just want to make sure that you know that. And then in the top right-hand corner of every slide on here is a bit.ly. And so if you type that into any web browser, bit.ly / Pearson beginners, you'll be able to pull up this presentation that I'm looking at. There are going to be hyperlinks on this presentation, and you will be able to open that and see those hyperlinks yourself. So you can pull that up. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Over the past 2 weeks, we have gotten to meet your children and start teaching them about band. And oh, what a wonderful experience it has been. So thank you so much for this opportunity for us to teach your child about music. So, there we go. Okay, so just some housekeeping things. We talk to our students at the beginning of every single class about norms when it comes to Zoom because we're doing this online thing right now. And so I just wanted to talk about norms at the beginning of this meeting. So please keep your microphone on mute unless you're actively speaking. We have quite a few people in on this meeting. And so if a bunch of people unmute themselves at the same time, or have their microphone on, we can get a lot of feedback and sound that will disrupt the meeting. If you do plan to unmute yourself at some point to ask a question, please wear headphones so you can prevent feedback. We've discovered there's a lot of echoes and feedback and stuff in these online meetings, and I'm sure that you've been on a few of those as well. So those headphones will help stop that. Just kind of how this is going to work tonight. I will be presenting the meeting, presenting the information to you. Mr. Jensen, my awesome coworker, is waving. He will be minding the chat. So if you do have a question, you can go ahead and put the question in the chat and he will answer it. And then at the end there, if we have time, we will give time for questions so you can ask your questions because I'm sure that you have some. We would love to be able to answer those and help you out. If you have your camera on, all we ask is that you please be mindful of your surroundings, of what's behind you when you have your camera on. If you feel more comfortable with your camera off, that's perfectly fine. Mr. Jensen and I are both literally just looking at the presentation, so that's completely up to you. Okay, so before we kind of start talking about the nuts and bolts of our program and everything, we want to talk to you about our philosophy of music, our philosophy of band, so you have an idea of what we're doing in band class. Our goal is for your student, for your child to love music. And to really gain a love of music, to love playing their instrument, to be good at playing their instrument, because when you're good at something, you enjoy doing it. And so we just want to instill that love of music into every single student that we teach. The second thing that we are doing in band is we are developing a sound character. We know that not all of our band students, or not even most of our band students, are eventually going to grow up to be professional musicians. But we know that the skills that we teach them in band are skills that they're going to use in the real world. And those are things like hard work, goal setting, risk taking, cooperation, and responsibility. Those are all leadership skills. Those are all things that are going to help them be successful in their future careers. And we believe that band is a program where they can learn how to do that in middle school at this age. I can tell you that the leadership skills that I have, I gained because I was in band in middle school and high school and continued through that in college. Those leadership skills were invaluable to me in being successful after high school and in my chosen career. One thing that I do want to point out is that the first skill that we have on here is hard work. We're going to work really hard in band class. Learning how to play an instrument is quite challenging, and it takes a lot of practice and dedication, and that's definitely something we're going to emphasize this year. We do like to have fun, and we do like to enjoy things. So that's why our third thing on our philosophy is to create a wonderful experience for each and every student in our program. We want them to have fun. We want them to enjoy band. We want them to have a great experience. We also, our goal is for band to be a family. We want your student to feel at home here, either literally here in the band hall if they are coming to school face to face, or virtually in our Zoom rooms, that they feel like this is family, this is home, this is the place that they can come in the school where they feel safe and they feel accepted. So here is just a page that has our information on here, so you can contact us if you need to. My name is Mrs. Black. I'm the head director. If you have any like general band questions, general program questions, things like that, please contact me and I will do my best to answer those. I teach the symphonic band class, which is one of our 7th and 8th grade classes, and I teach the beginner woodwind classes. And so that is flute, oboe, bassoon, clarinet, and saxophone. So if your student's in one of those, I'm going to be their teacher. Here is my email address and the office phone number. Mr. Jensen is our amazing assistant band director. In addition to questions about class, if you have questions about private lessons, he's going to be our go-to person for private lessons. He teaches the concert band class, the 7th and 8th grade concert band. And then he teaches the beginner brass classes, and that is trumpet, French horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba. And his contact information is on here as well, email and office phone number. And like I said earlier, if you would like to view this presentation, in the top right-hand corner is a bit.ly that you can type in, and you will be able to view this presentation and click on all of these hyperlinks. We have 2 other directors who don't work at our school, but they work with our school. So Mr. Baldwin is the percussion director of our cluster. And so our cluster is comprised of Reedy High School, Pearson Middle School, and Pioneer Heritage Middle School. So Mr. Baldwin works at all 3 schools, and he teaches the beginner percussion class. Mr. Overturf is our percussion specialist. He works with Mr. Baldwin at the same schools, Reedy High School, Pearson Middle School, and Pioneer Heritage. He is going to primarily work with our 7th and 8th grade percussionists in the symphonic and concert bands. And he may be in the 6th grade band class, in the beginner percussion class sometimes, but not often. But he also works with Mr. Baldwin. Okay, communication avenues. I know that you are being bombarded with communication. We are being bombarded with communication. Your children are being bombarded with communication. And so our goal is to kind of streamline this. If I'm sending you 5 emails a week with a detail about every little thing, you're eventually going to get to the point where you just ignore them. And so our goal is so that doesn't happen. That is why I've been sending out a weekly band newsletter. And there it is. This probably looks very familiar. We're going to send this out every week, and this is going to be our main avenue of communication for you in regards to band events and band activities, just to help you out there. There we go. Okay. The next thing is our band website. And our band website has a lot of information, and it's more of just kind of like permanent information. If you are interested in private lessons, we have private lesson teacher email addresses on here. This website is not going to be your go-to for up-to-date kind of information, but just more like program information and contact information and things like that. On Canvas, you can be an observer in your students' Canvas course. And so you can get on Canvas and you can see exactly what we're doing, exactly what we're doing in class, especially right now, because everything we're doing is online and we have synchronous and asynchronous instruction going on. You can pretty much see everything that's going on in our class in your students' Canvas course. How to be a Canvas observer. I am not the person to ask about that. This is my first year ever using Canvas. And so I asked Mr. Jensen probably about 20 questions a day on clarification on how to use this program. And so if you do want to be an observer in your students' Canvas course and do not know how to do that, you're welcome to email us and we will find out the answer, because I could not tell you the answer to that right now. We also have social media avenues. We have a Twitter, a Facebook, and an Instagram, and we try to make sure that we post the same content on all three of those. So if you only want to deal with one of those kinds of social media, you will be able to get all of the content on there that we post. How am I doing? Okay. Okay, so this is just an overview of the beginner band class and kind of how the beginner band class works and what we're doing. So we start from square one in beginner band. We do not expect that the students know anything. This week, we are talking about how to sit in your chair correctly. We are talking about how to breathe for band class and breathe when you play an instrument. Later on, we will be telling them how to open their case and walk them through all the steps of putting their instrument together. So we start from square one. We will be talking about private lessons a little bit later on in the presentation, but we encourage private lessons for all beginner band students. Private lessons are an invaluable resource for your student on getting better on their instrument. Like I said, I'll talk about that later. Classes are divided into like instruments and taught in a smaller setting. So for example, all of the students at Pearson who are in the beginner flute class are all in one class that is just beginner flutes. Same with all the other instruments, trumpets, trombones, percussion. And what that does is that helps us to give the students individualized instruction on that specific instrument. All of our band instruments are very, very different. And so that is going to help them get better faster on their instrument. So a little bit of how band is working right now and what we're doing and virtual academy versus face-to-face and everything like that. So I have a little bit of a description of what we're doing. So for right now, for the first 3 weeks, the students are attending band via Zoom at their designated class time. So they're following their schedule and we're taking attendance off that. We are taking attendance off of a Zoom roster report. And so that's helping us make sure that we get all of those students in the class. If for some reason your student cannot come to their band class at the time that they're supposed to, that's on their schedule, there is asynchronous work available for them to do on Canvas. They complete that assignment, they turn it in, and then we mark them present for that class. On and after September 3rd, when we resume face-to-face instruction and those students who elected to be face-to-face, when those students come to school, we will be teaching our virtual academy and face-to-face students simultaneously. So I used the example of beginner flute class earlier. So the students who are in my beginner flute class who are virtual and face-to-face will be with me being taught at the same time. And so the intent is that this is going to create a seamless transition for students who are going to move from one learning mode to another. There was a team of band directors who met this summer to talk about the logistics of all of this and you know, kind of figure out how this is going to work with Virtual Academy and face-to-face. And they went through many iterations of teaching modes and teaching modalities. And the consensus was that this is going to be the best way for our students for both the face-to-face and the Virtual Academy students to learn everything that they need to learn from the teacher at the school that they're going to be at, and the program they're going to be in, and to help with consistency. This co-seating is being used in the entire district, in all of our band, choir, and orchestra classes, most theater classes, and then other specialized classes in the school. So this is something that we're doing as a district. So grades. In band, we have grades. Band is a class. We have grades just like that. We have a set curriculum that is aligned with the Texas Education Agency, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or the TEKS, and these are our learning standards. So basically, it is a list of things that we're required to teach your student throughout the course of the year. If you are viewing this presentation and you click on this hyperlink right here, it's going to take you to the band handbook, and it outlines every single course objective that we have in band. So you will know this is what your student is going to learn during the year. Students will receive grades in band based on mastery, and this is accordance to the policy set by Pearson Middle School. And grades will be given in in the two categories. We have major grades, and major grades are things like performances, objective sheets, playing tests, those major grades. Minor grades are weekly practice records, music theory assignments, and quizzes and projects. Now, one of our big major grades is performances, which is concerts. And, you know, this year is the weirdest year. And we are kind of in a holding pattern right now for whether, for what concerts are going to look like this year. We're still waiting for more information and waiting for more guidance from the district on concerts. For this school year, we are going to make allowances for students missing performances due to health and safety concerns. You know, usually we give a grade for a concert, and we are going to work with you and be incredibly understanding when it comes to concerts and performances and things like that. You know, I'm going to talk about health and safety a little bit later, but your students' health and safety is our top priority right now. And we just want you to know that we are very, very understanding people, especially at this time. So, okay. All right. So we have some words that we have associated with band. There's curricular activities, extracurricular activities, and eligibility. These kinds of things are not really going to come into play very much in sixth grade, just because we don't have a lot of extracurricular activities in sixth grade, but I want to make sure that I go ahead and touch on this. So things that are based on those learning standards from the Texas Education Agency are curricular. And so one of those things is performances. And so performances and concerts and things like that are curricular. But then we have events that are extracurricular, and those are contests, competitions, festivals, some of our social events, things like that. And those extracurricular activities fall under a rule that we have in the state of Texas called no pass, no play. This mostly affects sports and school sports and athletics and things like that. But it does affect some of our band things and our music things. So a student with a grade of below a 70 on a 9-week report card in any class, so not band class, any class, are not allowed to participate in extracurricular activities. Now, there are times where the students can gain eligibility back if they have lost it. There are grace periods. There's a lot of minutia when it comes to this rule. So, you know, when we have things that are going to be affected by eligibility, we'll make sure we communicate that to you ahead of time and know, you know, in order to do this activity, they have to have a 70 or higher on their third 9 weeks report card and things like that. We'll make sure we communicate that to you in advance. The best way is, you know, for the students to turn in their work and to keep their grades up. Then they don't have to worry about these eligibility things. So, you know, the best thing that you can do is to just kind of keep track of your students' grades and communicate with the teachers if any grade issues should arise. Okay, practicing. We have not begun playing on our instruments yet, but we will be in the coming weeks. We have already given them stuff to practice. So the 3 things that they had to practice today were sitting with their perfect band posture, practicing their alphabet all-star pass-offs, and practice their breathing, practice breathing for band. And the reason why we give them practicing every single day, things to practice every single day, is because learning an instrument is a skill. It's like learning a language or exercising. You can't say, well, I'm going to do this for 2 hours on a Saturday and I'm going to get everything I need to out of it. It just doesn't work that way. And so daily consistent practice is going to help them be successful. 30 minutes a day is great. They don't need to practice for an hour and a half a day. 30 minutes a day is perfect. Now, you as a parent may be thinking to yourself, okay, this is great. I want my student to practice at home. How do I know if they're doing it correctly? I never did music. I have no idea. My mom was the same way. I'm the first person in my family who ever played an instrument. And so my parents had no idea if I was doing it correctly or if I was doing it incorrectly. There weren't the resources that there are now. This website right here, this practicingguide.weebly.com, is an amazing resource for you to know what you can look for and see when your student is practicing. I'm not going to go through the website, but it is amazing. I definitely suggest that you check it out and use that as your guide to help you when your student is practicing. There's a couple things that you can ask your student or you can look for. If they're doing something that looks or sounds really weird or really bad, there's a pretty good chance that they're doing it incorrectly. You can also just ask them, hey, did your band director teach you to do it that way? And they're generally going to be like, oh, no, they didn't. And they'll fix it. So those are some things that you can do. You're always welcome to ask us, send us an email or call us and ask us if you have a question about that practicing at home. Regular practice is the key to improving on your instrument. It's also the key to your student enjoying playing their instrument. If they don't practice, then it's not fun. And so this will help them to enjoy it and enjoy playing. So in the coming weeks, your student will be getting a practice record, and the practice record will be something that they will fill out to let us know what they practiced and turn in, and this will be a grade, and we'll send out more information about this later. We haven't given this to this kid yet. Okay, I've seen some questions in the chat about private lessons. So private lessons are an individualized one-on-one instruction with a professional musician, and lessons are for every student regardless of ability. So to give you some background, Mr. Jensen and I are general band teachers. We are certified to teach every instrument in the band and to teach the full band classes. But we are not professionals on those specific instruments. So our clarinet private lesson teacher has 2 degrees in clarinet. He is a way better clarinet player than I am. And so students who are taking clarinet private lessons are going to get amazing one-on-one individualized instruction with that private lesson teacher. Private lessons are $20 per lesson, and so this is an optional extra thing that we are encouraging that your students be a part of. For the fall semester, all lessons will be online. They cannot happen here at school. We're not allowed to have adults that do not work that are not staff members be at the school, so those lessons will be online. This can happen during band class, before or after school. The great thing about lessons online is that they can also happen on the weekends. Normally, we don't do lessons on the weekends because one of us would have to come up to the school while those lessons are going on, but online, they can do them in the weekends. Some parents are really worried about those lessons being during band class. I have been teaching band for 12 years, and every single year that I've been teaching, I've had students take lessons during band class. It has never been an issue. When we come back face-to-face and the student has a lesson, they'll just take their Chromebook into a practice room, have their lesson, and then come back and rejoin the class after that lesson is over. The lessons are 23 to 30 minutes. We have that range because if they're during class, our classes are 45 minutes. It's got to be 23 minutes so we can get 2 lessons in a class period, and then 30 minutes if they're outside of school. I already said they're $20 per lessons, and lessons are scheduled at your convenience on a first come, first served basis with the lesson teacher. So we don't schedule those lessons. The lesson teacher schedules those. They keep track of their schedule. And then all of our private lesson teachers are degreed professionals who've been vetted and approved by us, the Pearson staff, and Frisco ISD. These lesson teachers have also undergone a background check, and they are part of our state music association. So these are vetted professionals, not just some randos that happen to play the instrument that your child is in a class for. So they're all wonderful, awesome people. Okay, so instruments. I'm going to kind of go through this pretty fast. If your student is in band, they need an instrument and they need supplies. There is a band supplies list that we have on our website, and if you still need supplies for your instrument, let us know. We can help you out with that. If your student's instrument is in need of repair, please first have them bring it to us so we can look at it. We might be able to fix it. We may not, because we're not certified repair people. If we can't fix it, we will let your student know that it needs to go to the music store. Please, please, please do not approach any instrument with home repair tools. My dad is a fix it around the house kind of guy. Like, he loves to do all that kind of stuff on his own. When I was in high school, my bassoon was not working and needed to go to the shop, and he said, I can fix it. And I said, no, you won't, because I knew that he didn't know how to do that the correct way. So sometimes this can cause way more damage than harm. Please do not use any household materials to clean or lubricate your instrument, or disinfect your instrument or anything like that. There are greases and oils that go on some of our brass instruments, and there's specialized products that go on that. Please don't use any kind of WD-40 or motor oil or super glue or any of those kinds of things on those instruments. It can ruin them. Okay, so policies and procedures. We went over these with your student the other day. They're on the band handbook on page 8. These are just the things that we have set as expectations for your students, that they're prepared for rehearsal, they bring their stuff, that they're prepared for rehearsal, that they practice their music ahead of time, that we treat each other with respect, both adults and students. These are some of the things that, just can't happen in the band hall. Theft, fighting, profanity, vandalism, hazing, bullying. Those are also things that are violation of school rules. That we show proper care of all the equipment. I'm sitting in the band hall right now, and there is a lot of very expensive equipment behind me, and that equipment is only 5 years old and needs to last for a really long time. And so, making sure that we take care of equipment. We're going to expect that they don't have any food, drinks, gum, or that they don't run in the band hall or practice rooms. We want to make sure that we take pride in our building. Students should always make sure that they know where their instrument is. They don't leave it unattended, and they should only handle their own stuff, especially this year. We need to make sure that we're only handling our own stuff, not touching anybody else's instrument or equipment. Instruments should go home every night. It's an expectation that they practice every single night. When we have band events, students should conduct themselves properly. It's an extension of school. It's an extension of the classroom when we have events. And so, they are representing the band when we are out in public. And that when we do have events and things going on, that if there are any conflicts with anything, that they communicate effectively with us to let us know that those conflicts are happening. Like I said earlier, we are very understanding people. The only thing that we need is just communication. I'll tell the students, we can't read your mind. You have to tell us. And so that will help us a lot. Okay, these are our Zoom expectations with the students. We already talked about the Zoom expectations for this meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and go on. Okay, Face-to-face instruction procedures. If your student has elected to be a face-to-face student on September 3rd and after, I put out a document in our newsletter on Monday with face-to-face instruction procedures. And it looks like this. And you can read through it. I'm going to talk about some of these things, but not all of them. So if you click on this link right here where it says UC Boulder Study, there is a study that is still going on by the University of Colorado at Boulder, where they are seeing what kind of aerosols are coming out of instruments while they are being played, and the effects of that and everything like that. That study is still underway, but they are publishing each stage as it concludes. If you want to sit down and read through that, is quite fascinating, but very long. So you are welcome to read through that if you want to. Here's some of the things that we're going to do. Students will wear masks as they enter and they leave the room, and if they walk around at any time. They're going to be required to wear masks at school all day, so that goes along with that. Students are going to have lockers that their instruments are in. They will not have school lockers, but they will have lockers to put their instruments in. And we are going to spread out those instrument lockers as far away from possible from the other students in the class. So when they go and they get their instrument, they're not all crowded together. Students will only touch their locker, their instrument, and their supplies, which will help us. They may bring their own folding music stand from home to use during class, and then we will check out a school-owned music stand for them to keep at home. This way, it prevents them from touching a surface that someone else has touched. Students will be socially distanced as much as physically possible. I am sitting in a socially distanced band hall. All of the chairs that you see behind me are 6 feet apart. And we sat down and we looked at the number of students we're going to have face-to-face in our biggest classes, and we have more than enough space in the band hall for our students to be socially distanced during band class, for those students that are coming back face-to-face. While students are in the band hall, they will sit in their chair with their mask on. When it is time to play, they will slide their mask down, play their instrument, and then when we are giving instruction or they're not actively playing, they can put their mask back on. So I'm going to demonstrate what we're going to teach them. They can play their instrument. And so that way we can wear our masks as much as possible. Part of the UC Boulder study is talking about how as long as the students are socially distanced or 6 feet apart, that playing their instrument helps to mitigate the 6 feet of distance, helps to mitigate the spread. So that's very good. Percussion students do not have to blow air into an instrument. So they will wear masks the whole time. And then no talking will occur at any time without face masks. They'll stay on anytime the student's not playing their instrument. So if a student has a question or whatever, we're going to ask them to put on their face mask while they ask that question. All band staff members will wear masks during class. We are going to wear masks the whole time. We share an office. We're not in that office right now, but as we've been in our office together at the same time, we've been wearing masks, so we have gotten used to it. Students will all sit facing the same direction to minimize potential exposure. All instruments except flutes will use bell covers as recommended by the study, and basically what they've said is that the bell covers mask the instrument to prevent any aerosols from coming out of the end of it. Food storage covers can fit the instrument except tubas, and there's special bell covers for tubas. And not in this presentation, but in the newsletter and in this document that's hyperlinked at the top, there are links to where all of those are. Flute players will wear a face shield while playing. I have 2 different face shields. I have one that comes on like glasses like this. You probably can't hear me. You can play a flute underneath the face shield. I've done it. You can also use a face mask that looks like this and play your flute like that. So flute players need to wear face shields, and then brass players, if you are not familiar with brass, sometimes we can get some condensation that occurs inside the instrument, and we'll need to let that condensation out. Brass players will empty their water keys on puppy pads that will be disposed on at the end of class, not on the carpet. They usually just empty it on the carpet. It's not a big deal, but this year we don't want to do that. So I have a puppy pad right here. It's quite big. And so we can cut this into pieces, and each student will get one piece. They can empty their water key on that and then dispose of it at the end of class. There have been some ideas about using, oh my goodness, using a bucket, using a sponge, using all of this stuff, but everything requires the student to take it home and get it washed and bring it back. And we think that something that they could just dispose of at the end of class is the simplest and best solution. I know that we're asking you to get a lot with your instrument and supplies, but these items, if you can get these items, bell covers, face shields, the puppy pads, then that would be great. If you absolutely cannot get these items, or if you try and you can't find them, please let us know, and we will help you out. We can scholarship you on those things. Okay, so also in the newsletter was information about band registration. We do a lot of stuff in band. We are going to bring in clinicians. We're going to have competitions where we have judges. We will be doing some social events, and all of these things cost a little extra. And so, you know, because we do all these things, there are some registration things. So the things that I've been talking about today are in the band handbook. There's also a lot more stuff in the band handbook, but I figured you wouldn't want me to sit here and read it to you. So when you get an opportunity, please look at the band handbook and read through that. Then there is a band registration Google form, and please fill out the band registration Google form for each student that you have in band if you have more than one student in band. Also on the band registration form is a place for you to put the t-shirt size of your student. And then once we get those in, I will order band t-shirts for 2020-2021. The registration form was not working earlier. There was a setting where you had to be logged into a Frisco ISD email address. I have adjusted that setting so it should work. If it doesn't, please let me know, and I will see what I can do to fix it. There is a $40 band fee. That includes your t-shirt, your student's band binder, and those other things that I was talking about earlier. You can pay that on PayPal through your student's Charms account. You can click there to get to Charms, and then there's a video tutorial for how to log into Charms and how to make those payments. If your student is using a school-owned instrument, so that's going to be oboe, bassoon, French horn, euphonium, and tuba, then you will need to pay the school-owned instrument fee, and that is on online school fees. I'm sorry. And there is, not on this presentation, but on the newsletter, there was a link to a website that gave you instructions on how to pay that. You're done after that. So that's all band registration, making sure you know the band handbook, the Google form, the fee on Charms, and then if you're using a school-owned instrument, to pay the school-owned instrument fee. Please complete the band registration by Monday, September 7th. That will help us make sure we get all of our records updated if we need to, and so we can get those t-shirt sizes in so we can order those t-shirts. You know, I was talking about the PPE earlier with the face masks and the puppy pads and all of that kind of stuff. If you would like to help out our band, we would be incredibly grateful if you would consider purchasing something from our Amazon wish list, if you are able to, and some of those things are on that wish list. So we would be very appreciative of you if you would do that. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much for attending the meeting this evening.